to present to you the Executive Director's Work Plan Call. I was waiting a few moments to see if others joined us, but knowing that there is a lot going on in the world today, I want to be mindful of your time as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen here in just a moment, and we will start going through the PowerPoint presentation. And then I will open it up to all of you for any questions that you might have. So let me wait a moment for my screen to load. I know sometimes it can take a minute. Other stuff. There we go. All right. So slide 1, you will see the typical introductory slide for ILRU, or the Independent Living Research Utilization, which is an ILNet project. And you will see the logo, which is the ILRU letters in red with a navy blue swoosh over the top of it. Slide 2 is the topic of the presentation today, which of course is the Executive Director's Work Plan. Again, my name is Carrie England. Visual description: I'm a 49-year-old Caucasian female. I use pronouns she and her. Today I'm wearing kind of a green plaid sweatshirt type thing, and I'm in front of a virtual conference room background for the California Silk, where I serve as the Executive Director. Today we're going to discuss just a couple of quick announcements, and then we're going to really dive into the requirement for the work plan and how to report on that work plan, and then how does that work plan interface with the spill. And I'm particularly interested in hearing from you and what you are all doing. Slide 4, those announcements. So if you receive public health workforce funding, you will want to know that you are going to be able to apply for and receive a no-cost extension past September 30th, so that you can carry that funding forward to be able to spend it all. So really good news. If you haven't spent that money, you might want to start thinking about creative ways to consider this as health related. Some of the examples might be disaster planning for people with disabilities, could be considered health related, or refuge services for people with disabilities can also be considered health related. And many of you probably have ideas that you could share with each other to help spend that money. Okay, so diving right into the topic, and I apologize, I cannot see the chat if you're asking questions, so just hold them until we get to the end slide, which is coming quickly. So your PPR, or your Program Performance Report, which used to be known as that 704 report, it does require a work plan. And you'll see this in subpart 4 or 5, where it asks you to talk about the plan for the past year, the plan that you're reporting on, and secondly, for the plan for the coming year. So you're saying what you did and then what you're going to plan to do for the next coming year. So the next year, that second part is what you report on as the plan for your past year. So you're able to just look at all of your PPR reports and kind of carry that information forward as you go. The plan includes the annual program and financial planning objectives. The parts of the work plan for the year that just passed, you'll want to include in there your achievements. So you want to talk about what were the goals and objectives, and then what progress did you make in achieving those during the reporting year. And sometimes you can't reach all of the goals that you set, and that's okay. There's also a part of it where you talk about challenges. So that would be a great opportunity for you to talk about why you were unable to reach the goals you set. For example, when coronavirus hit the nation, that really changed our plans. And so some of our PPR reports may have reflected that in this section. This section also gives you a good opportunity to talk about how you attempted to resolve those challenges. That way, when ACL is looking at your program performance report and they're seeing that you're not meeting your goals and objectives, they are also seeing all of the, creative ways that you tried to problem solve and fix it or are addressing the issues. This part of the work plan also talks you to compare with the prior reporting year. So, that's not going to be possible in all situations, but as appropriate, you'll compare the center's activities in the reporting year with its activities in prior years. So you're looking for recent trends. So for example, if you provide transition and diversion services, which most of you do now at this point, you might talk about how last year you did outreach to homeless shelters, and so because of that outreach, you saw an increase of 20% of your services directed in that area. Or there's lots of different kinds of examples, but really looking at what did we do last year compared to this year. I think it's reasonable to think that you would be increasing each year, but this is that part of the report where you also have the opportunity to talk about maybe why you weren't. Maybe funding dried up, or maybe there was a large group of people who moved out of the area, so the services were no longer needed, those kinds of things. So this part of the report really lets you address all of that. The parts of the coming year plan, you'll include your annual work plan. That's your plan that you have for your individual Center for Independent Living. That includes all of the goals and the objectives and the action steps you plan for the year following the reporting year. And I always found that this part was really helpful to kind of spur me into action, into planning, because it's so easy to just kind of continue working without developing a strategic plan. And so this really helps you to lay out, year to year, or even 5 years in advance, what you're thinking about doing should your network continue the way it is. This part of the document also asks you to explain how your work plans and goals and objectives and action steps and all of the work that you're doing is consistent with your approved spill. And that's why it's so important for centers to be involved in the development of this state plan for independent living, so that you can make sure not only that the work isn't duplicating the work that you're already doing, but that you are able to really tie in the work you're doing at the local community level with the statewide goals and priorities. Okay, so some fun stuff. The authorities of the SILC. So the SILC may conduct the following discretionary activities as authorized and described in an approved state plan. So the SILC can work with centers for independent living to coordinate services with public and private entities to improve services provided to individuals with disabilities. They may conduct resource development activities to support the activities described in the approved spill, or to support the provision of independent living services by centers for independent living. And they may perform other functions consistent with the purpose of this part and comparable to other functions described in Section 705 of the Act, as the council determines to be appropriate and authorized in the approved spill. And in parentheses, including advocacy and disaster planning. Okay. Also in those same authorities, in undertaking the foregoing duties and authorities, the SILC shall coordinate with the centers, the SILs, in order to avoid conflicting or overlapping activities within the SIL's established service areas. They will not provide independent living services to individuals, including the IL core services. And they must comply with federal prohibitions against lobbying. So SILCs may not provide direct services to consumers. SILCs can't require centers to provide conflicting or overlapping services with what they already have in their plans. And they must comply with any prohibitions against lobbying. All right, so now we're at that part of the presentation where I want to invite some questions. Let me stop sharing for a moment. Oh. There it is. So I can see you. And I am happy to take any questions, or if you have any ideas on what you're doing for your state plan and work plans, happy to answer anything now. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing any waving hands or any questions in the chat, but we will stay on. I do want to remind you that there is an evaluation, and we would really appreciate your feedback. I believe that Sharon has dropped that link into the chat for you. So if you could take a few moments today to fill that out, we would really appreciate it.